Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we share listener feedback on our Take Two of Mulan. We cover the latest Disney news, and we answer your burning questions in our feature segment, Questions and Peter Panswers. As always, we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Patrick Charles Mountbatten, His Royal Highness of the High Hills, and all that is seen by the sun, Kazuki.
That is my correct title. Thank you for using my full name.
I normally just call you Patrick, but I thought in this case...
Yeah. How are you, Adam Ragnarok Hummel?
Super.
Oh, okay.
Like a superhero?
Wow, you're catching on. You're catching on.
It's that quick wit delayed by an internet feed.
Yes, that 5-minute gap between each sentence.
It really gives you time to come up with something really clever to say.
It makes it really easy to edit as well, because there's just chunks of time delay that you just cut them right out.
That's true. For a little peek behind the scenes at GDTD podcast, Patrick and I normally record on one track. And so we have to be very quick and very sharp and very clever to keep you entertained. I don't want to call us heroes, but typically we're heroes recording on one track. But now with Zencastr, we're actually recording on two tracks. So I have my own track and Patrick has his own track.
Because our tracks are social distancing.
That's right. We're trying to be safe on every single level possible.
You got to do your part. You got to do your part to spread the word to the community.
How was your week been, Patrick Mountbatten, all that the hills and the suns? What did I say?
I don't remember anything you say, Adam. Why would I remember that?
Regardless, how was your week?
It was a week. It was, the weeks are getting longer and longer and longer as I have more and more time on my hands. But it was okay. You know, I am discovering all of the flaws in my house. Just going over it inch by inch. How was your week?
It was pretty good. I had my first full week of working from home, which was interesting. You know, you really do start to notice that there's no separation now between the days once you're just kind of, you know, getting up, going to work in the kitchen, going to bed.
Do you have an office space set up in your apartment?
No, I'm just working from a laptop in the kitchen, which is challenging in itself because I work in design. So I'm now working on this much smaller laptop, and I'm typically used to two large screens in front of me. So it has definitely made me very aware of my advanced age and declining eyesight.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm glad you're finally aware of it.
Yes, you have been for years and years and years, and pointed it out on every single occasion possible.
I've been trying to alert you of your advancement in age, but you don't seem to catch on. So maybe one good thing from all of this is that you are finally having some self-reflection. Even from afar, I'm very mean.
That's the one good thing to come out of this, Patrick. That's the one good thing. Speaking of good things, though...
Yes.
And if our listeners will indulge us for a moment, although there is actually a Disney connection this week, RuPaul's Drag Race, Patrick. RuPaul's Drag Race.
I know. I immediately texted you after I watched it last night and told you, basically, I forced you to watch this week's episode because we have to talk about it today because there's a Disney connection, finally, on RuPaul's Drag Race.
You used an exclamation point in your text, and you rarely use exclamation points.
I know. I'm very subtle. I'm very subtle in my texts.
For those of you that watch Drag Race, you will know that the runway challenge this week was Frozen Eleganza.
It's true.
And the queens were tasked with coming up with a look inspired by Disney's Broadway musical Frozen.
To be clear, though, they were very careful not to use the word Disney. They just said Frozen on Broadway. I think that Disney, it seems, is just dipping their toe in exploring what they can do with RuPaul's Drag Race, but they're not yet ready to use the word Disney, is what I'm understanding.
It made me kind of sad. I realized this morning as I was watching the episode that the reason they probably did this was because Frozen was supposed to be touring right now. And And I'm sure it was kind of a clever way for Disney to kind of sneak in some promotion there without them mentioning Disney.
For sure. Well, if you remember, a few weeks back on one of the runways, a couple of queens referenced some Disney characters. Again, they were careful not to say the word Disney, but one came out as Pinocchio, one was doing a reference to Cinderella. It was really cool, and they've never done that before. So I have to believe that Disney is, like I said, dipping their toes and slowly letting them use some of their characters and references. I did read something kind of interesting. I know you know about sort of the scandal behind the contestant Sherry Pie, who's on the show right now. And this past week, they fully did not film her runway, which they haven't done before. And on Reddit, which is where all the truth happens, as you know, they were talking about somebody had leaked maybe that Disney asked RuPaul's Drag Race not to show her runway because they didn't want that connection with Sherry Pie and Disney.
Oh, interesting. My assumption behind them not showing it was that this was the first week that Sherry didn't win the challenge. And so they were like, let's just get rid of her altogether and not have to deal with that moment. And we'll just move on.
Yeah, could be. Might be a mix of both. Who knows? It's all rumor and spectacle at this point right now.
Spectacle and speculation.
Oh, yeah. I used the wrong word, didn't I?
I think you used the absolute right word, Patrick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, before we dive into the episode, Patrick, we should mention that once again, we are doing a remote recording via Zencastr.
We sure are. Usually we're in the same room, but of course we are under quarantine right now.
We are quarantined AF. So if you happen to hear any weird like pops or sizzles or twizzles or fizzles, anything you want to add to that list, Patrick? Some snaps, some snoops?
I think you covered it. You think you covered our bases. Some electronic yasses.
Some electronic yasses or sauces or flosses. This is becoming a Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah, I think we have a new podcast if this tanks.
Please forgive us if you hear any technical glitches. We are doing the very best we can in this new remote recording scenario.
I will say it's nice that we now have an excuse to sound terrible, Adam.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Patrick. Well, we have a brand new listener to welcome to the podcast, Scott, who you can find on Twitter at Sater69. Scott decided to use his platform as a new listener to correct us right out of the gate, Patrick, on the previous episode where we mentioned that Betty Davis was in Escape to Witch Mountain, but in fact, she was actually in Return from Witch Mountain. So it's kind of a sorry about it. But thank you, Scott. We like to be held accountable here at GDTD Podcast.
Which, please. Just kidding. Thank you so much, Scott, for being a new listener. And thank you for correcting us when we are wrong, as we are often.
We're gluttons for punishment, so bring it on.
Well, speaking of new, Adam, we have a new Patreon member to welcome to the family. Wayne is our most recent Patreon member. Thank you so much, Wayne. That is very generous of you to join us, especially during these times.
Wayne.
Yep, that's his name, Adam.
I had a very attractive director named Wayne once.
Okay. That's a great story. So for those who don't know, we have a Patreon page. You can find it by going to gaysdothed.com and clicking on that donate button. For as little as $1 reoccurring a month, you will have access to some extra episodes of Gays Do the D called Gays Do the D Raw and Uncut.
Raw and uncut.
This last week, we released an episode where Adam and I came up with Disney drag names, and we had a lovely time doing so.
Should we share one of our drag names?
I can't remember that far back, though.
I was trying to think of one of mine that would be appropriate to say without bleeping out. So maybe we can't share drag queen names.
Well, that will give everybody an extra incentive to go and join our Patreon page to listen to Adam and I full-on swear with all the bleeps.
Well, welcome to the Patreon family, Wayne. We are so happy to have you.
That's right. Thank you so much, Wayne, and thank you to all of our Patreon family members.
Next up, Patrick, we need to give a very special shout out to one of our Tweedledees, Chad, who you can find on Instagram at Chubby Chadley. Chad is a nurse who was listening to one of our episodes after a particularly rough day and reached out to thank us. But Chad, we just want to say thank you. Thank you so, so much for everything you're doing for everyone right now who's affected by this virus. We know you're putting your own health and safety at risk, and we truly are so grateful for everything that you and everyone else in medicine is doing to keep us all safe.
Absolutely. I read that note that Chad sent, and it was really, really touching. I'm so glad that, and I don't mean this to sound like we're heroes or anything, that is far from the truth, but I'm glad that we're able to provide some moments of joy to anyone out there right now. I know that this is a really tough time for a lot of people, specifically, as you said, those in the medical professional, because they are, I'm sure, very stressed and overworked right now. So as long as we can, we will continue to bring you a moment of joy in your day.
Or at the very least, a annoying distraction.
That's correct. Something to distract you. Maybe you fall asleep to us. Who knows?
Oh, they're definitely falling asleep to us, Patrick.
That's fair. That's fair.
We're like an Ambien of podcasting.
We are human Ambien.
Just Ambien and a glass of wine and you're out for the night. That's GDTD in a nutshell.
Well, that's a Tuesday for me, for sure. Well, speaking of moments of joy, Adam, I don't know if you've been watching, but the Disney Parks YouTube page has been releasing some really, really fun video content lately. Have you taken a look recently?
You know I like to watch, Patrick.
Oh, boy.
I like to watch. And I have been watching all of the great videos they've been releasing to give us just a little bit of a taste of what we've been missing in the parks.
Yeah, this past week, they specifically released a really well-done video version of the Magic Happens parade, the new parade in Disneyland. And I have to say, I absolutely cried during the entire thing. It was just sort of an emotional day, I think, that I was having. And I really needed a spark of joy, and that happened to be released that day. And it was so fun to watch. I'm glad that they did that.
Yes. I mean, who knows when we're going to have the chance to actually see the parade live again. So it was so great of them to be able to share that with all of their fans.
That's right. And also, there's a really fun video of the Dapper Dans from across Disney parks all getting together to sing some of their fan favorite songs. And that was really fun to watch, too.
I was inexplicably cut from that video, but I was in the first edit of that video. I just want everyone to know that.
So if there's a square missing from the screen, that was your square?
That's right. I'm Dapper Adam.
Oh, Dapper Madam.
Full drag. I was in full drag.
That's maybe why you were cut from it.
Maybe. Also released by Disney on their YouTube channel, Patrick, is a virtual tour of Walt Disney Imagineering. And this is really cool. They're actually going to be doing a multi-part series where they're going to give us a little peek into Walt Disney Imagineering.
That's super fun. I'm excited to see that.
They don't normally give such tours to us commoners, so I'm excited to see where it's going to go. The first episode of it was kind of like an overview of what Imagineering does and was very similar to what you would see if you were going on an actual tour of Imagineering, kind of like a Mr. DNA video from Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
Minus the dinosaurs, of course. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of information they pass along to the fans.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see not only Disney, but all of these different companies releasing new content or old content or never before seen content just to sort of keep people occupied. And I imagine it's sort of keeping them occupied as well and staying creative as content creators.
And fans, too. It's been so fun to see what fans are coming up with to help them kind of keep the magic alive.
Absolutely. I was listening to our friends over at Once Upon a Scream, Mikey and Ben, and something that they said really struck true for me, and I imagine for you as well when you hear it, is that it's been weird not to have each other in the same room for the podcasting because it's been such a staple in our life every single week. You know what I mean? Like you will come over every single week for over a year now, and it's been a disruption for sure, but I'm so glad that we're able to do this going forward the way that we're doing it because it's still something for me to look forward to every week.
Well, I know you have so little in your life that you actually need this. So I'm happy that I can facilitate a true conversation about Disney with you.
Wow. Yes, Adam, you are the true hero in all of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for recognizing that.
It's about time.
Well, let's head back in time, Patrick, to last week's episode, huh?
Oh, wow.
For those of you who don't know, last week we did a take two of Disney's 1998 animated classic Mulan, and we had several Tweedledees reach out to us with their thoughts on Mulan. Garrett, who you can find on Instagram at GarrettM081, wrote in to say, "This is one of my favorite movies from my childhood. The music is fun, the characters have heart, and there's some camp thrown in to lighten the underlying plot. Mulan is a must-watch for me."
We also had Dana Marie writing in from Instagram. She's on Instagram at Dana Marie G. Dana says, Mulan is easily one of my favorite Disney movies. She is a strong, inspiring role model for kids. I can't wait to see the live action version as well. It looks epic.
We also heard from Rob, who you can find on Instagram at Zippity-Doo-Dah-Days. Rob said, I fell in love with this movie just from seeing the beautiful, incredibly dramatic movie poster, the red and black one of Mulan, rearing back on her horse, Khan. Do you remember that poster, Patrick?
I do. It's iconic.
It is iconic. You're absolutely right. Rob goes on to say, it really said, quote, this is going to be an adult movie. No, not that kind of adult movie. Get your head out of the gutter. You know what I mean. And it truly was. As you mentioned, it was the first movie where finding a love interest wasn't the goal and wasn't the happy ending. But to me, it's not just that it's important for what it's not about. It's important for precisely what it is about. It's about honor and doing what's right. I love it so much for bringing that concept to the forefront of a movie intended for children. The one flaw I feel the movie has is that they never adequately explain why it's so bad that Mulan is pretending to be a man. All they say is, quote, ultimate dishonor and, quote, you know the law, etc. They really needed a moment to spell it out. Perhaps when Mulan's father says, if I reveal her, she will be killed, he could have gone on to explain to his wife why. All it would have taken is a sentence or two, something like, in life or in the army, the most important thing is trust. You must be able to trust the man next to you, and trust requires honesty. If Mulan is found to be lying about who she is, the trust will be gone. It gives the others a reason to so quickly turn on Mulan when she's revealed and sets the stage for Mulan's talk about trust. Thanks for prompting a wonderful evening's viewing. I loved it. I think that's a really good point that Rob brings up, Patrick, about the fact that, you know, we needed kind of more of an explanation of what would happen or the reasoning behind why Mulan couldn't be revealed.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess we could have used a teaspoon more of it, but I mean, I still understood it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, though. Maybe I'm just very wise.
That has always been the case, Patrick, always.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our Tweedledees who wrote into us about Mulan.
Before we continue, Patrick, I just want to mention one of our Tweedledees, Jeff, who you can find on Instagram at the Disney Parks Teacher. Jeff actually posted an Instagram story featuring a survey of whether or not the 98 Degrees and Stevie Wonder classic True to Your Heart was actually a good song.
I saw that.
This was, of course, prompted by our discussion of it being really out of place in the movie and not a great song to begin with. And Patrick, it turns out, according to the survey anyway, we are incredibly wrong. That song is beloved.
It's true. It's true. A lot of people love that song. And giving it a second listen, it's not the worst song that was ever created. It's definitely of its time. It was just such a misplaced song, I think, was the problem for me.
Misplaced. It was absolutely misplaced.
But to be clear, 98 Degrees and me, that was a real sexual awakening, I have to tell you. Ooh, boy.
Was it JC? Was he your favorite?
Well, JC was from NSYNC.
Oh.
So no.
Okay, so with Justin Timberlake then?
Wow, you're a mess. You're a mess. No, Nick Lachey, ooh boy. He can lay me. You know what I'm saying?
He can Nicholas Slay.
Oh, and his brother was hot too. What was his name? Drew, I think.
You would know. You would absolutely know of anyone. Nick Lachey was for sure the JC Chazé of 98 Degrees.
Wow. You trying to sound current on your boy bands is really amusing for me right now.
I can't wait to see their buddy comedy coming this fall to CBS. It's called Lachey and Chazé.
Chazé, you stay. Well, I have no good segue from that, Adam, to move on, but we do have some anniversaries to talk about. We have 3 movies that are now in their mid-20s, Adam.
Just like me.
Wow. Well, starting with the youngest, turning 24 years old, released on April 12th, 1996, James and the Giant Peach.
My first thought was, that's a Disney movie? And then my second thought was, oh yeah, that's a Disney movie.
It's a good one. Have you seen it?
Absolutely, yes. I loved it.
It's super dark, but that's kind of why I loved it, I guess.
And an all-star cast.
Oh, absolutely. We should take two that one. We have nothing but time on our hands.
You're absolutely right. I was going to say it would be our first stop motion take two, but we actually did Nightmare Before Christmas too, didn't we?
We sure did. We sure did. Moving on, turning 25 years old, released on April 7th, 1995, a Goofy movie.
AKA the movie that True to Your Heart should have been in.
You're right. You're right. A Garsh.
This is one of Matthew's favorites. He refers to it as a Disney classic.
It is a good movie. I don't know about the word classic, but I do like it a lot.
With a love of 90s nostalgia, it's definitely become more popular, I would say, or kind of more part of the conversation of quote-unquote classic Disney films, I guess.
And last but not least, turning 28 years old, released on April 10th, 1992, Newsies.
Newsies, Patrick. Newsies.
Talk about sexual awakenings for me. I watched that movie on repeat when I was younger.
I bet you did. A lot of bathroom breaks needed while watching that.
That's disgusting and very accurate. So happy anniversaries, Newsies, a Goofy movie, and James and the Giant Peach.
Next up, we just want to take a quick second to remind you that Crooked Media has established the Coronavirus Relief Fund, where your donation will be distributed equally to help groups providing critical support to those who need it most. To make a donation, visit gaystothed.com and click on the Coronavirus Relief tab at the top of the screen. Patrick, I think they've raised over $1 million already.
I believe that's the last I heard, which is outstanding. And I think the money just keeps flowing in, which is amazing. I know I made a donation, and I highly encourage anyone out there, if you're able to make a donation. It goes to a really great cause, to many really great causes, actually.
And if you're unable to make a donation, and we know a lot of people right now just do not have the means to do it, Podchaser, the site podchaser.com, has actually established #reviews for good. Through April 16th, Podchaser will donate 25 cents to Meals on Wheels, America's COVID-19 response fund, for every podcast or episode review on the Podchaser site. And they'll double the donation when podcasts like Gays Do the D reply to your review. So to leave a review and to help make a difference during this really terrible time, visit podchaser.com.
I'm going to leave so many reviews specifically about you, Adam, and it's going to be epic.
You know, you can review not only the podcast as a whole, but individual episodes. So this will be our 82nd episode. So I don't know what the math is, but if you were to review every single episode, think about the difference you could make just in taking the time to do that and not having to contribute anything financially yourself. It would just be Podchaser making that donation on your behalf.
And then if we responded to every one of those episodes, they would make about $1 billion. Is that the math?
That is how the math works out. And just to let you know, we will do it. We will reply to every single review you leave. So please do that, and we'll make some money for people who really need it.
I love it. Great idea. Another way you can donate, if you are able to, I was just reading recently that Raglan Road in Disney Springs is donating all gift card purchases to help support their staff who are unable to work right now, which is really generous of them and gives you something to look forward to as well when you purchase a gift card.
I think quite a few Disney Springs restaurants are doing that now. We mentioned on last week's episode that Jaleo, the Jose Andres restaurant, is doing that. So I think that's a great way, Patrick, as you mentioned, to kind of support those who need it, but then also kind of tuck that away and have something to look forward to when all of this passes.
Yeah, I highly encourage you all, as I said, if you're able to, go out there and look at all of your local restaurants that are doing things like this. I know that you and I personally have quite a few friends who are either artists or were working in the restaurant industry who are unable to work right now. So it's a nice way to give back and to have something, as we said multiple times, to look forward to when all this blows over. So before we move into the news, Adam, I wanted to take a quick second, or I guess we wanted to take a quick second to remind all of our American Tweedledees out there that this is the time you should be taking the U.S. Census. It is incredibly important to do so. I know a lot of people have already taken it, so thank you for doing that. But if you haven't, I really encourage you to go online. If you've gotten your census letter in the mail, you can go to my2020census.com to take it virtually, so you don't have to send it in. And as I said, it's incredibly important that we take the census. It determines how many congressional representatives each state gives, and it helps determine districting lines. It also informs how hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding is allocated to places like Medicaid, Head Start, block grants for community mental health services, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, just to name a few. And as I was saying, especially right now, more than ever, it is so important that your voice is heard and counted.
So important, Patrick. And it's also important to note that there is no citizenship question on the census. I know there was some fear of that. There was talk among certain politicians that was going to happen. It is absolutely not on the census. And Patrick, we have something to celebrate. This is actually the first census where same-sex couples are recognized.
Absolutely. It was really nice to see that. It was a small call out. I wish that there was a different box that you could check if you were single but still identified as such, but we're getting there. We're getting closer.
Yeah, it should be like straight, gay as hell, super duper gay.
Yes.
There should really be like a temperature check you can do on just how gay you are on the census.
Yeah, it's a Census Kinsey scale. So as we said, you can go over to my2020census.com to participate in the 2020 census.
And you can keep listening to Gays Do the D to hear about the news.
My 2020 news.
We're still going to need to know, though, if you're gay as hell,
yes.
super duper gay, just how gay you are.
Temperature check for sure. As per the new usual, we will start off the news with a COVID-19 update as it relates to Disney. On April 3rd, the Walt Disney Company announced that it would be furloughing employees, quote, whose jobs aren't necessary at this time, end quote, starting on April 19th. The press release stated there is no clear indication of when we can start our business and that it was forced to make the difficult decision to take the next steps and furlough employees. As of this recording, there is no clear word on who exactly will be impacted or how many, but it can be assumed parks employees will be hit the hardest. 75% of the company's 223,000 employees work for the Parks and Products division. It should be noted that the furloughed employees would keep their health and education benefits during the furlough and will be able to access federal and state aid. It should also be noted that prior to the announcement of the furlough, Disney executives announced that they were taking a pay cut during the pandemic. CEO Bob Chapek will be taking a 50% pay cut, and Bob Iger will forego all of his salary. I think it's worth pausing there, Adam, before we move on to the rest of the COVID-19 news, just to sort of discuss this pretty devastating news to thousands of people potentially.
It was so upsetting to hear the news this week, Patrick, and our hearts go out to all of the cast members who are the true face of the Disney company, right? Those are the people that you see in the Disney parks who are helping making your trips so magical. So we really feel for them, and we just want to thank them for everything they've done and hope that things return to normal as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. That is very well said. I know a lot of Tweedledees were reaching out to comment on this, and a lot of people are really upset, and I totally understand that, and it is so valid to be upset right now. Of course, I imagine you are always going to be on the side of the employees who are affected by this, and it is really tragic, and I imagine it's going to put people in a very difficult position right now. I have to say, I also can see this from the other side as well, though. A lot of companies are making really difficult decisions, and I want to believe that no one is taking any joy in making these decisions. It's just sort of a way that they can stay afloat right now, is to cut some of their costs. But that being said, it is really difficult news.
Absolutely. We feel for all of you who lost your jobs through the Disney company, and we hope that things turn around very quickly.
That's right. We are hoping for the best for all of you. Moving on to some guest-related news, the summer free dining offer released earlier this year will be extended to guests with previously booked vacation packages or room reservations that had been affected by the closure of the parks. Eligible guests can take advantage of the offer for most nights June 1st through September 30th, 2020, when you book now through May 31st. However, as I said before, this offer is only valid for guests who previously booked a vacation package or room reservation to stay on property from March 16th through May 31st, 2020. Additionally, annual pass holders are able to take advantage of this offer, but they still must purchase a park ticket in order to activate the offer, and that park ticket may be applied toward the renewal or purchase of an annual pass. Disney also announced an update on how they are handling annual passes at Disney World and Disneyland. As previously announced, annual passes will be extended for the number of days the parks are closed, and the new expiration date will be reflected on the annual pass account prior to the park's reopening. Alternatively, now, in lieu of an extension on the pass, if you have already paid for your pass in full, you may choose to receive a partial refund for the park closure period. According to the Disney World and Disneyland websites, information will be posted soon on how to receive your refund if you choose that option. Also, if you are an annual pass holder on the monthly payment plan, effective April 5th, 2020, Disney will stop and waive all upcoming monthly payments while the parks are closed, and any payments made March 14th through April 4th, 2020 will be refunded. Payments will automatically start back up once the parks are open again. It should be noted that the expiration date will not move or be extended due to the stoppment of payments during the closure. However, as an alternative, guests may choose to have any stopped payments paid back in full in one lump sum once the parks reopen, which will then extend their expiration date the number of days the park has been closed. Again, information on how to select this option will be posted soon. Disney Cruise Line also announced new policies for guests that were scheduled to travel between April 13th and April 28th. Guests scheduled on those cruises who canceled their trip between January 30th and March 31st will automatically receive a refund on their cancellation fee. For any guests who moved to a new sail date, Disney Cruise Line will give them an onboard credit of 25% of their original fare that will be applied to their shipboard account once their modified reservation is paid in full. This offer is only valid on sailings that take place within 15 months of their original cruise date. Guests that had not yet rebooked before the recent cancellations have been offered a 125% future cruise credit that is valid for 15 months from their original sail date. On to some more inspiring news, an update to the donations Disney has been making in response to the need for food and medical supplies. Disney Parks recently donated 150,000 rain ponchos to MedShare, a humanitarian aid organization for distribution to hospitals. This idea was inspired by the ways hospital workers are becoming inventive with how they protect themselves under a shortage of supplies. Disney also donated more than 100,000 N95 masks to New York, California, and Florida hospitals. Disneyland Paris also donated more than 100,000 medical supplies, including masks, hygiene caps, and protective shoes to the French government for distribution to hospitals. These latest donations are on top of the more than 270 tons of food donated from Disney World, Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Aulani Disney Resort.
That is a lot of information, Patrick, and I truly appreciate you delivering it in a kind of Dan Rather or Edward R. Murrow style. I really feel like you're trying to comfort us as you inform us.
Well, this is my audition tape for being a newscaster after all of this.
I think you're going to make it really close. I think you're going to make it really close to the final cut and then maybe not get the job.
Yeah, that feels correct.
But children's entertainer. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Adam.
Remember going to the movies?
Ooh, Kind of.
Remember getting a big bucket of popcorn and a soda and sitting down in a theater to have a communal watching experience with your fellow citizens of the world?
I feel like you're just being mean right now because I can smell that popcorn.
Remember when that 8-year-old behind you started kicking your seat in the movie theater?
Oh, those were the times.
Remember when that person 3 or 4 rows ahead of you couldn't stop themselves from checking their phone, which would light up the theater like a Klieg light?
You know, the more you talk, the more I'm thinking isolation is maybe the way to go.
Anyway, we now know the potential release dates for the Disney films that have been postponed due to the pandemic. It is important to note that these dates may change depending on when theaters are actually able to reopen. Mulan is now scheduled to open on July 24th, 2020. It's taking Jungle Cruise's former opening date, which has pushed the Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson action-adventure flick, to July 20th, 2021. So they're pushing Jungle Cruise back a full year, Patrick.
Wow, that seems aggressive.
Black Widow will now open on November 6th, 2020, taking Marvel's The Eternals opening date, which will now open on February 12th, 2021. And pretty much every other Marvel film after that has shifted due to the kind of domino effect of all these movies taking new dates. Pixar's Soul retains its original opening date of June 19th, 2020, but I doubt that will actually stick. And Disney's sci-fi fantasy Artemis Fowl, which was scheduled to open in theaters on May 29th, will now debut on Disney+, making it the first Disney film to skip its theatrical release.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
According to an April 3rd, 2020 Variety article, quote, the latest scheduling shift from Disney is yet another sign that the earliest movie theaters might reopen would be late into summer. When cinemas are able to resume business as usual, there's no telling how eager audiences will be to return. I think that's a really good point, Patrick. Just because the theaters reopen doesn't necessarily mean that people will be comfortable going back to them right away.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that with any entertainment venue right now, that though they may open relatively soon, the question remains, who is going to attend?
Do you think Pixar Soul is actually going to open on June 19th?
I would like to stay positive and say yes, but I don't think so. I think even if we are allowed to go back into the movie theaters, they're not going to be very well attended. And so I know this sounds harsh, but playing the numbers game, as you would imagine Disney is going to do, they're not going to get a good return on the movie or a good opening release profit. So it would make sense for them to push this back a little bit. But, you know, who can say? Who knows? I wonder if they would ever consider placing a rental option on Disney Plus and have people buy a virtual ticket and watch it at home instead. I would do that for sure.
I have to believe they're considering that or trying to figure out a way to make that happen, because even if things return to normal relatively quickly, don't you think they'd want that in their back pocket in case there's something else that disrupts the kind of theater going experience?
I would hope so. I would hope that all companies right now are sort of cataloging this experience and learning from it and figuring out ways to operate virtually.
Yeah, I mean, it's just smart business, right? There are people who even during normal times don't want to go to a movie theater because of all the distractions that might entail. And so a rental option on Disney Plus would just make complete sense to me.
Agreed.
When are we going to announce that Gays Do the D, the major motion picture, is being pushed back?
We'll announce that during Quick D. We want people to listen to the full episode before we disappoint them even further.
While we've just seen Women's History Month come to a close last week, October 2020 will give us another opportunity to celebrate the contributions of women, specifically to Walt Disney Imagineering. Disney Editions will be releasing Women of Imagineering, 12 Careers, 12 Theme Parks, Countless Stories by Elizabeth Erlandson on October 13th, 2020. The book will feature personal stories from a dozen women Imagineers and will be illustrated with the women's personal drawings and photos in addition to archival Imagineering images. Intertwined with memories of Disney legends are glimpses of what it takes behind the scenes to create a theme park and the struggles unique to women who were becoming more and more important, visible and powerful in a workplace that was overwhelmingly male. Women of Imagineering will retail for $29.99 and is available for pre-order via sites like Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
That's super exciting. I'm definitely going to check that book out. But I have to say, I prefer a workplace that's overwhelmingly male for very different reasons, though. This June, Marvel will begin releasing a mini-series comic book called Web of Spider-Man. This new 5-part series will coincide with the opening of Avengers Campus in Disney California Adventure. The series will take Spider-Man on an adventure with the Worldwide Engineering Brigade. This first issue, due in June, is written by Kevin Shinnick with art by Roberto DeSalvo. The official description of the first issue: Peter Parker, Spider-Man, scientist, troublemaker. Thanks to none other than Tony Stark, a new scientific research station for the teenage heroes of the Marvel Universe has just been completed, and Spider-Man just got an invitation to join, working alongside some of your favorite faces from the Marvel Universe and a whole bunch of awesome new gadgets. And with Iron Man keeping an eye on them, surely everything is going to go great for the heroes, right? Face front, true believers, and treat yourself to this first issue in an adventure of the Worldwide Engineering Brigade. Wow, that is a weird description.
Consider my interest piqued.
An official release date of comic number 1 in the series has not yet been confirmed.
Web of Spider-Man. I like this for a name for the attraction better than the actual attraction's name, not Web Slingers.
I knew you were going to comment on that.
I think that title would sound so intriguing to parkgoers. Web of Spider-Man.
I mean, you have a lot of time on your hands, Adam. You could absolutely contact someone at Disney, I'm sure, to pitch this idea.
I'm going to do it. Patrick. Would you also like me to include your note about seeing Tom Holland nude in the attraction?
They are flooded with emails from me about that already, so...
They already have all of your correspondence.
Yeah.
Patrick, I can completely relate to this next bit of news because I just purchased outdoor furniture for my apartment balcony.
Okay.
According to an April 2nd, 2020 Orlando Business Journal article, on Tuesday, March 31st, Celebration Company, an entity related to the Walt Disney Company, purchased 26.3 acres for $1.05 million just west of Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom on the southeastern shore of Reedy Lake. As we previously reported, the Walt Disney Company has been purchasing Florida land near the parks via various LLCs the company owns. This January, Disney purchased 1,575 adjacent acres for $11 million. Disney purchased roughly 235 acres in December 2019 for $6 million. And who could forget that in December 2018, Disney bought the 965-acre BK Ranch in Osceola County for $23 million. Again, BK does not stand for Burger King, or does it?
I think it does. I'm not convinced that it doesn't.
I love their fries, Patrick. According to the Orlando Business Journal, quote, Disney's real estate deals can be for various reasons, including freeing up conserved land at its current resort or gathering what it can for future growth plans. In addition, land is a physical asset that, even in times of economic recessions, still can hold most of its value as it's a finite commodity, end quote. So again, Patrick, Disney purchasing more land in Orlando near the parks.
I want to be super excited about this and think that it's for a new park, but more than likely it's for like water irrigation.
One of the realtors that they spoke to for this article had mentioned that because of the proximity of this current land purchase to the Magic Kingdom, it could potentially be used for a resort, kind of a more secluded resort that's away from the parks. And again, it's on a lake, so there would be that opportunity to then have things like boating and other water sports on the lake.
I do love water sports, Adam.
I teed that up for you. You walked right up to that and just whacked it for a hole-in-one or a home run or whatever you tee things up for sports.
Wow. Yas, Adam.
It is time for us to dive into the old Disney mailbag, the D-bag, if you will. And I think on a couple of Friday nights back in the day when we used to go out for cocktails on a Friday night, we used to dive into a different kind of D-bag.
Many D-bags.
Many D-bags, but that's neither here nor there. We're diving into a different type of D-bag today, and we're doing one of our very favorite segments. It's Questions and Peter Panswers with Adam and Patrick. This gives all of our Tweedledees a chance to write in and ask us really anything. We're very open here on Gaze to the D. We will talk about anything and answer any question.
It's true. I am very open, and these are some of my very favorite episodes to record.
And in this time of isolation, it's just nice to know that there are people out there, people in the great beyond, who are willing to communicate and wanting some kind of connection. And unfortunately, they've turned to us for that connection. And I just want to apologize up front. This is not who you should be reaching out to.
No, you have better friends than us, I assume. This is a terrible mistake on your part, but the joke's on you because we are running with it.
That's right. So let's get started, Patrick. Let's roll up our sleeves and answer everyone's questions.
Well, Adam, I am not wearing any clothes, so I don't have any sleeves to roll up. But yes, let's dive in.
Metaphorically, I just want you to push up those sleeves.
Got it. That I can do.
You're so good at pantomime. You always have been.
Thank you so much.
All right, Patrick, our first question comes from Bailey. You can find Bailey on Instagram at BayMarieB. Bailey says, I would love to hear if you guys have ever been to Dapper Days and your thought about these types of fan events or just about Disney bounding in general.
Ooh, well, I have never been to Dapper Days. I really want to, though. It looks really fun. The pictures that I see on Instagram are super amazing. And I just love that sort of aesthetic and that time period. So I feel like I'd be super into it for sure.
Yeah, I really love how everyone looks. I myself, I don't think I would be a good Dapper Dayer just because I like to be incredibly comfortable in the parks. But I applaud everyone who does it because everyone who does it always looks phenomenal, just like dressed to the nines. So I love that. As far as Disney bounding goes, I've actually never Disney bounded, at least not intentionally anyway. Patrick, I know you have.
I have. I dressed as Donald Duck one time, just sort of a casual reference with like a blue shirt and white shorts and yellow shoes. I know that the Broadway husbands, however, Brett and Steven, who we've had on the podcast before, are amazing Disney bounders. Go check out their Instagram. They have some wonderful, wonderful pictures.
I love seeing the pictures from Disney bounders. I think there's a true art to it because you want to keep things really simple, right? And just kind of suggest a character. And it's almost harder to do that than putting on a full costume.
Yeah, I would do it more often if I weren't so lazy, I think.
Yeah. Same, Patrick.
Let's move on, Adam, to Kim, who's on Instagram, Kim Chi. Kim writes in and asks, if you could voice one Disney character, who would you choose? And give us a sample. I personally would love to be a ghetto Jasmine if I ever had the chance. LOL. That's funny.
Wow, I feel a lot of pressure right up front on this question. I know we said ask anything, but I'm very nervous right now.
You should be. You should be.
I know. I think I would like to voice Ursula.
Oh.
Few people know about this, but I was actually under consideration for the role. It was actually B. Arthur, and then B. Arthur turned it down, and so they gave it to Pat Carroll. But then I was next on the list if Pat Carroll decided not to voice Ursula.
Yeah, and that's a fact, everybody. That is a fact.
And I now need to give an impression of Ursula. Is that right, Patrick?
I guess if you really want to.
I'm going to do it. Okay. You're too late!
Wow, I have never been more happy to be isolated than I am right now.
That is, of course, from the classic moment when Ursula changes from Vanessa back into Big Ursula.
Now known as the ruined moment, I guess, not classic anymore.
What about you, Patrick? What Disney character would you like to voice?
I have to say, I'm going to cop out on this one a little bit in saying I'm terrible at impressions. I am the worst at them. So I don't think I would ever want to recreate a character that exists. I would rather like create my own character. You know what I mean?
Wow. So you just basically allowed me to make a fool of myself. And then you're like, oh, JK, I'm not going to do it.
100%. Fun fact, though, I recently did some voiceover work, not for Disney, obviously, but for an online cartoon short called Princely, which was written and edited by one of our Tweedledees, Matt, and his company, Tiny Sirens. That was super fun to be a part of.
Patrick, where can the Tweedledees find that when they want to watch it?
Oh, good question. There is an app called Amino Apps, AMINO, and they do a lot of, or they recently are doing a lot of animated original shorts. So you can look up Princely on that app.
Everyone should check that out. It is such a cute cartoons shorts series.
Oh, thanks. It was super fun to work on. It's the first time I've ever did one, so I don't know how well I did on it, but I would love to do more if that ever comes into my future.
Our next question comes from Joseph. We received an email from Joseph asking what non-Disney podcasts we listen to, Patrick.
Ooh, good question. I listen to an unhealthy amount of podcasts. How about you?
Yeah, I listen to a ton of podcasts as well. And in fact, a lot of the podcasts I listen to drop on Monday, just like our podcast drops. And so on Monday morning, when I open up Apple Podcasts, an insane list of podcast episodes kind of populates, and it's very overwhelming, but great to listen to throughout the week. So one of my favorite podcasts I listen to is Las Culturistas. Hosted by Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers. Very funny guys. I just love that podcast. I also listen to a number of the Crooked Media podcasts like Pod Save America and Love It or Leave It. I listen to Anna Faris's podcast, Anna Faris's Unqualified. And I listen to Conan O'Brien's podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. It's like a healthy mix of comedians and news, I would say, in my podcast list. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, kind of the same here. One of my favorite ones is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. I really, really love that one. As you mentioned, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend is really great. I listen to Explore the World with Matt Long, who we've had on our podcast as well. Some crossover there. What else? Homophilia is really great. Life is Short with Justin Long is fun. He's awesome. All of the Pod Save America, or Crooked Media, I guess, podcasts are amazing. Reply All is super fun. It's sort of like a tech question and answer, and deep dive into the tech world. It's really, really well done. The West Wing Weekly is fun. It's sort of a follow along episode by episode recap of all of the West Wing episodes, which, boy, oh boy, can we have that president, please?
Yes, please. That whole administration, really.
Oh, I know. CJ Craig for the win. And then, of course, I know that you asked for non-Disney podcasts, but I really wanted to give a shout out to two of my favorite Disney podcasts, which I mention all the time. Once Upon a Scream, hosted by Ben and Mikey, who are basically our British counterparts. They are super funny. It's a podcast that mixes Disney movies and horror movies. So it's really awesome. And then, of course, the Disney Buzz with JT and Melanie. They are absolutely delightful, and they have such a good spirit about them. I really recommend giving those two podcasts a listen as well.
If any of our Tweedledees want to write in and give us recommendations for podcasts, I'm always looking for new things to listen to, despite the fact that I already have an extensive list. But it's always fun to discover new podcasts, so please send us your suggestions.
Great idea. Moving on, Adam, we have an email from one of our favorite Tweedledees, Auntie Myrna. She writes in saying, so, not Disney related, but since you both enjoy some RuPaul's Drag Race, I was wondering what your drag names would be. Don't pretend you don't already have one. I am an extremely bubbly human and am also into fitness. Patrick, drum roll, please. Ooh, I get to do a drum roll. Computer glitch, insert here. Boom. Was that a good drum roll?
The insert here part sounded familiar, at least based on the many dates you used to have, I think.
Wow. My drag name would be, this is Auntie Myrna going on, my drag name would be Serotonin. Get it? Because serotonin makes you happy, and toning because fitness. That's very clever. I love that.
I love it, Auntie Myrna. Great drag name. Patrick, what would your drag name be?
I think mine would be Patricia Cakes, or Patty Cakes for short.
Yes. It would absolutely be that.
What about you?
This goes back many, many years. But mine would be Chilada Shard.
What?
And that is based off of the fact that one day my friend Brian and I were at the Mall of America and we were walking by Cinnabon and they had just premiered their new frozen beverages called Chiladas. And it popped in my head like that would be a great first name for a drag queen, Chilada. And I can't remember where the shard came from. I think it was from like Swiss chard. So anyway, Chilada Chard, that would be my drag name.
That is amazing. Oh, man. Remember Cinnabon? Oh.
They still exist, don't they? Or is it just because you don't allow yourself to have it anymore?
That and because I can't go to a mall right now to smell that delicious smell.
That's right. That's right. I always associate Cinnabon with either a mall or an airport.
That would be a good drag name too, though. Cinnabuns.
Ooh, I love it. Patrick, next up we have a question from Tweedledee. Tarek says, I know each park has a lot of different movies represented, but if you had to pick one Disney movie that reminds you of each park that makes you think of that park, which movies would you pick? An example, Tarzan reminds me of Animal Kingdom and Peter Pan reminds me of Magic Kingdom.
Oh, good question. The first one that comes to mind, I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit reminds me of Hollywood Studios.
That is a great choice, Patrick. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would go with that for sure. Magic Kingdom, there's just so many movies represented there, but I always kind of get a Mary Poppins feel from it.
Oh, interesting.
Definitely Mary Poppins. As Tarek said, Peter Pan feels like Magic Kingdom to me.
Yeah, for sure. I would say The Jungle Book definitely is Animal Kingdom for me.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom definitely feels Jungle Booky, or like Tarek said, Tarzan too.
See, I think Tarzan reminds me of Adventureland in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, you're right. Tarzan is very Adventureland in the Magic Kingdom. What about Epcot? What films remind us of Epcot?
I was just trying to think about that. Nothing really pops into mind. I don't know. Maybe Tron in Future World? I don't know.
Yeah, Future World does kind of have a Tron vibe to it, but that's one of the great things about Epcot is that it wasn't designed to be a park that was really associated with the films at all, although now obviously it has embraced more of the IP.
Yeah, I think Epcot in general is sort of its own thing.
And obviously Disneyland is, again, you know, like Peter Pan, Mary Poppins, but what about DCA? Is that kind of like a Roger Rabbit experience too?
Oh yeah, I guess so. Parts of it, for sure. It's hard because these parks, especially Magic Kingdom and Disneyland and DCA, are so sort of sectioned out into different movies, I guess. So kind of every Disney movie reminds me of something within a park, at least.
Yeah. And now with the addition of Pixar Pier in DCA, there's just so much Pixar there, too.
For sure. For sure.
Well, there you have a very kind of non-answer to your question, Tarek.
We're so good at that. Moving on, we have JJ writing into us from Instagram, JSquare3. JJ asks, there's an opening in the 2020 presidential race. What Disney character is entering the race and what is their slogan? My pick is Governor Ratcliffe entering as a Republican and his slogan is mine. That's funny.
That's great, JJ. I'm going to go with Lady Tremaine for my choice. She's a female and we need females in the race, let's face it, as we need a female president at all. And I think her slogan is going to be, I said, if you don't vote, I'm going to murder you.
Aggressive, but I like it. I like it.
Seems like something she would say, right?
For sure. For sure. I think I would choose Judy Hopps from Zootopia. And her slogan is hop into hope.
And right there, folks, you have the difference between Patrick and me. I chose a villain and a murderous slogan, and Patrick chose an adorable rabbit with a very positive message.
But we did both choose women, so there's that.
There is that. Choose women. That should be a slogan. Just choose women. You know, except when it comes to having a relationship with or sex with or things like that.
Wow.
If that's your inclination, then absolutely do it. But for me, it's choose men in the boudoir, choose women in the boardroom.
That is amazing.
It's so dumb. Oh, it's so dumb.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Next, Patrick, we have our very first voice memo of the episode. This voice memo comes from Jason. Jason, take it away.
Adam and Patrick, this is Jason out in Seattle. So 2 things before I get to my actual question. First one, I have now recorded this voice memo 24 times to get it right. So I really hope you appreciate this. Second, you are my very first ever voice memo. So we might say you guys have popped my cherry. Anyway, moving on to the actual question. In a world where there's no Disney theme park that's open, there's no Disney Cruise Line sailings, all the ABDs are canceled, and you can't go into a Disney store to get a Mickey plush, how are you guys dealing with your Disney D thirst? Out here in Seattle, my pup Rosie and I are on day 8 of an indefinite work from home requirement. So we start every morning with Disney-themed coffee in a Disney-themed mug with a Disney-themed tumbler full of water. We light a whole lot of Disney-themed candles throughout the house and play a lot of Disney music. The current favorite in our house is a combination of It's a Small World, The Tiki Room, and the Leanne Rimes version of Remember When from Disneyland's 50th anniversary. Anyway, thanks, guys, for everything that you have done and will continue to do for the last 70-some-odd weeks and a whole lot of weeks in the future, hopefully. I need you boys in my ears every single Monday, even if I don't say hi and that kind of thing. So have a good one, guys.
Thanks so much for that voice memo, Jason. Patrick, how are you keeping the Disney magic alive right now?
Well, first, I'd like to applaud you that it only took you 24 attempts to record something. It takes Adam and I at least 75 attempts to record anything at all. So well done. Well done to you. Good question. I know I've been doing on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been doing a daily Disney shirt that I wear. I take a picture of me wearing one of my many, many Disney shirts. Just something fun for me to do, just to put some sort of content out there and then have some magic on my shirt, at least. I don't know. It's not really magical. I just ordered some Disney crafts, sort of a painting kit that you paint Mickey Mouse. And I ordered one of those metal create the Cinderella carriage kits that you can buy in the parks. They have them online now as well. That's about it. Also, I've got on my desk, my new at-home office, some Disney figurines just to lighten up the mood while I'm working. Maybe I'll post a picture of that on the GDTD account.
You should. Show us your workspace, Patrick.
That's a good idea to call out for all of our Tweedledees out there. Send us your new workspaces.
Yeah, how are you Disneying up your workspaces? We'd love to see that.
I love that idea. What about you? What are you doing at home to add some Disney to your life?
I think I might be one of those rare Disney fans where when outside of the parks, I don't go like crazy Disney bonkers all the time. Sure.
Yeah. Other than having a Disney podcast.
Other than that. Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah. Other than that small side gig I've got going on. I don't go nuts for Disney. Actually, that is a really good point, Patrick. Obviously a hilarious point too, but we do put a lot of work into each episode. And so as soon as the episode drops on Monday, we're already working on the next episode. So that does take up a lot of time and a lot of like thought on like Disney things. So that's one way I'm keeping the magic alive, I guess. Some other ways we were doing it, some very small ways, some very obvious ways that I know a lot of you have done. Matthew and I just started working our way through the Disney animated films from start to finish. So we just watched Snow White the other night. In particular, because Matthew just received one of the Twisted Tale books, Mirror, Mirror, about the evil queen. And so he's going to begin reading that and wanted to do some quote unquote research on Snow White. So we started watching Snow White. We're going to work our way through the Disney movies. And he also just ordered us 2 of the poison apple mugs. And so that's just kind of a really cute way to start each day by using one of those mugs and just kind of keeping the magic alive that way.
Yeah, he and I have been chatting, Matthew and I think you may want to check your bank account because he's been buying everything from Shop Disney right now.
And to be fair, I have been sending him links to things because some of the new merchandise coming out is so cute. Some of the stuff they have for summer, some of the neon items, the neon clothing items, the fanny packs, stuff like that just looks so adorable. And so I know he's got his eye on several things.
One other thing I'm planning on doing is, because I'm not going to be going to the Run Disney trip this April, I still remember what fast passes I had. So this is going to sound so silly, but on that day, I'm going to watch the virtual ride-throughs of the rides that I had fast passes for.
Oh, I don't think that's silly at all. I think that's great. I think that's a great idea.
Just have a virtual Disney trip instead of an actual one.
I think that's very sweet and a great way to kind of celebrate what could have been and what will be again eventually, right?
For sure, for sure. Next up, Adam, we have Derek, who's writing in from Instagram at Boy Who Has Everything. Derek writes in and says, I'd love to know more about your favorite non-Disney films. There's only so much that we can learn about you within Disney. Very true, very true.
Probably my favorite film of all time is All About Eve, starring Bette Davis.
Oh my God.
What?
That is such a weird answer, but I love it.
I love that movie. It's so well written and the performances are just amazing. Plus it has that great like vintage look to it. It's truly a wonderful movie. And the dialogue is so just like whip smart and they just like throw insults back at each other, like back and forth. It's so great. So I love All About Eve. I love Terms of Endearment, a real upper. I know, but I mean, Shirley MacLaine, come on. And I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan. And so I really love movies like Vertigo and Psycho and The Man Who Knew Too Much. I just love Hitchcock movies.
This is where we learn the real differences between Adam and Patrick, because my favorite movie of all time is E.T. I love that movie so much. I watch it sparingly because it makes me so emotional.
That's a great choice, Patrick. And that could easily make my list as well. Like those 80s films by Spielberg are just the best.
For sure, for sure. I also love The Breakfast Club, and kind of any 80s and 90s movie I really am drawn to, like Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. I love Working Girl, Pretty Woman, just all of those sort of classic, iconic 80s and 90s films. And I love Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That movie is so funny. I don't know why I love it so much, but I am really drawn to it.
You love you some Christina Applegate.
I love Christina Applegate. She is one of my favorite humans of all time.
This is the point where I bring up I still have not seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Which I don't know if you're going to like it now. I feel like it's a nostalgic film, so you may like it for that. But because I watched it so much is why I continue to love it. So I don't know if I would love it now if it was my first viewing of it. But you never know. Give it a try.
I think once this is all over, Patrick, once we're out of quarantine and enjoying normal life again, you can invite me over, you can make me a cocktail, and you can walk me through scene by scene the majesty that is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I should say Academy Award winning Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
What?
I can't back that up. I just wanted to.
I was like, wait, I don't know if that's accurate, but okay.
I don't think that's true.
No.
Our next question comes from Patrick. We received an email from Patrick. Patrick asks, if Disney were to make changes during the park's closure, what changes would you like to see made? Removal or reinstatement of attractions, restaurants, shows, etc., new things, whatever strikes your fancy.
Oh, interesting. I would like them to have made a final decision on what they're doing with that area where Stitch is in the Magic Kingdom in Tomorrowland.
That's a great choice, Patrick.
Yeah, finally bring us a decision. I don't care what it is. Just do something with that enormous space that is nothing right now. It's so silly.
It's prime real estate, right?
Oh, for sure.
There's been rumors that it's going to become a Wreck-It Ralph attraction, and the rumors have previously, been that it's going to be like a Candy Crush simulator type ride. But most recently, the rumor's been that they're actually going to utilize some of the Stitch's Great Escape attraction and have that kind of tube in the middle of the room, and Ralph is going to teleport there.
That sounds cool. Again, I don't care what it is. Just do something with it.
Yeah, they really need to take advantage of that space. For me, I would love to see Horizons brought back to Epcot. I know it's never ever going to happen, and I know I just need to let it go. But Horizons was such an incredible attraction for me as a kid. It was amazing to me. And so I would love to see that brought back. I would also love to see Journey into Imagination, the original attraction, brought back, because I think that would just be incredible for anyone to experience. It truly was a magical dark ride.
Yeah, I'd like that too, or at least just an update of that ride. Though I do love Figment, as everyone knows, Figment is one of my favorite characters or mascots, I guess, if you will. But that ride definitely needs an update for sure.
And I want to believe they'll get around to it, and I want to believe they'll turn it into something really fantastic. I know it's just a matter of time and money now, but yeah, that ride at the very least needs some kind of overhaul to kind of get it to a place where it feels like a true ride again.
Agreed. We had an interesting question from one of our Patreon family members, Andy, who I'm not sure, is he trying to trick us or is he testing our knowledge here? But he asks, who had the most, he says, who had the most voice credits in the Disney catalog? And then he did follow up with excluding John Ratzenberger.
Yeah, so this is a test for us, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't find the answer anywhere, but my assumption is that it's Frank Welker.
Oh, I didn't even think about Frank Welker, but yeah.
Because he voices animals, inanimate objects, whatever you need him to do, he's done for like 1 billion Disney movies. So that would be my best guess.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Verna Felton, but I feel like, Patrick, you might be right on that. I guess that's both of us, though, excluding people who have voiced Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse, or, we're thinking features as opposed to shorts, because if you think about the voice actors who have provided the voices for those characters, I mean, that went on for years and years and years and years.
Right. I think I was thinking of it as who voiced the most different characters, not who has the most actual IMDb credits.
Yeah, Patrick.
But if anyone out there knows the answer, please let us know for sure. Andy, maybe you have the answer and you're just trying to trick us into being idiots on the podcast, which is not hard to do.
Andy knows the answer. I bet he has the answer. And we're going to find out that answer in Andy's new podcast he's creating while in quarantine.
Called Andy Fact Checks Patrick and Adam.
Our next question comes from John. You can find John on Instagram at JohnWhite85. Oh, John's a patron too, isn't he, Patrick? And he's the winner of our Patreon-only giveaway, that $50 gift card.
Yas.
So he's earning that gift card right now by asking, I often head to the parks solo, so I can basically do what I want and don't have to listen to my partner moan about queues, lines, or children. What would be your solo trip park of choice and why?
That's a funny question and a funny reveal that you've just given us, John. That's awesome. I actually do solo trips more often than not, I feel like now, because of the Run Disney events. I really love going to Animal Kingdom solo. I think there's so much land to cover and it's so tranquil, and you can just take as much time as you want to wander around and enjoy the animals there without worrying about who you're with not wanting to do that. Also, that single rider line for Expedition Everest is outstanding.
I'm of two minds about this. Do I go to the park that kind of seemingly offers the most alcohol to kind of take the edge off a little bit of being on my own in a Disney park? Maybe that's the best choice. In which case, I think I would pick Animal Kingdom, because that just seems like a park where you can have a cocktail and then go to the next ride and then stop for another cocktail. Or I guess Epcot too would be a great choice. But I think I might do Disneyland because of the single rider aspect. There are just so many attractions there that have single rider. You could just jump from attraction to attraction, or hit many attractions, or hit attractions again and again and again that you really love because there's that opportunity in the park.
Yeah, that's a great option. I actually find that when I go on solo trips, I don't do as many attractions. I spend most of my time wandering around and taking in the scenery instead, and just taking a beat and pacing myself while I'm there, which often leads to me not going home quite so tired.
And Patrick, you be shopping. Come on, you be shopping.
Oh, you will always find me in a gift shop while I'm on a solo trip.
You got that purse open, you be spending that money, shoot.
Oh my goodness, that was a voice I never want to hear you do ever again. Well, speaking of shopping, Adam, Rodri writes into us from Instagram, Rod Meets World, and he asks, what is one piece of merch you've seen recently that you want oh so badly?
This is a tough one for me because I'm not a merch guy. Usually, every once in a while, something will kind of catch my eye and I'll fantasize about it for a moment, but then I'll come to my senses and think about paying bills or something ridiculous like that and avoid making the purchase.
Wow, you're a real treat to go on a vacation with.
I know. Not very spontaneous when it comes to picking up souvenirs here. So I don't know if I have a very good answer for this, but Patrick, you're a merch guy. What's one thing that's caught your eye recently that you absolutely need in your life?
I don't know about need, but no, you're right. I do need this. The Flower and Garden pass holder Dream Green with Figment shirt. I really wanted that. And the pin that goes with it too. I'm really bummed that I won't be out there for it.
You have mentioned that in previous conversations. I wonder what they're going to do with all that merch.
I don't know, because it's dated, so they can't really use it for next year because it all says 2020 on it. So who knows? Maybe they'll throw it online. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there would still be a want from it from the Disney community. Like people still want that merchandise.
Absolutely. I know I do for sure.
Especially because it's more of a collector's item now, it seems, because it's kind of the event that didn't happen. So it has kind of a historical significance behind it.
Absolutely. That's a really good point.
Well, sorry for my non-answer. I just don't really have anything that's like jumping out at me. Although I'm certain as soon as I get done recording this, I'll be like, oh, I should have mentioned that. And now it's too late.
Well, maybe your answer is the Flower and Garden merch because you want to sell it for a higher price later because of the significant value that will absolutely be placed on it.
That's it. That's it, Patrick, because you know I love two things. I love hoarding and I love selling things online for an extreme profit.
Yep, that feels right. That feels accurate.
Our next question comes from Daniel. You can find Daniel on Instagram at DancoDirect. Daniel actually sent us a voice memo via email, and he also sent us a bit of a correction, too. So there's a correction and a question. It's a twofer, Patrick.
Hey guys, this is Daniel, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing to record these episodes because they give so many of us so much joy during these very strange times. And I just had a comment and a question after the last episode. The comment is that the Chinese word for flower, which is hua, Mulan's last name, is traditionally spelled H-U-A if it's transliterated into English. But in Mandarin, when there are two back-to-back vowels, you usually zip through the first vowel and head straight to the second vowel. So instead of hua, it becomes hua. And it's kind of the opposite treatment of back-to-back vowels as compared to when you sing in English, for example. And I'm so sorry to to correct the Mandarin pronunciation. I hate to be that guy. It's just every time I heard hua, it made my eyeball twitch a little bit. And then my question is for Adam. And the question is, what on earth led you to take a 7 a.m. class in college about dinosaurs? Like, what series of unfortunate circumstances led to this? I can only imagine that it happened because you were coerced into it by a blackmailing roommate, or you lost a bet or some such thing. Just inquiring minds want to know. Yeah. Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks so much for that voice memo, Daniel, and thank you for correcting our pronunciation. We honestly have no idea, and we're doing the best we can, but that is really great to know.
Yes, never be sorry about a correction, especially like that. It's important to get as accurate as you can when dealing with different languages, and clearly we had no idea. So it's good to know going forward. Thank you so much.
In answer to your question, this is probably the most important question we've been asked so far, Patrick. And this is
Wow.
a reference to last week's episode when I mentioned that I once took a college class called Life and Death of the Dinosaurs that was only offered at 7 a.m. The reason I took that class was because I was a theater major and I did not want to take a math course, and Life and Death of the Dinosaurs sounded like a fun elective. And so I took it. And I regret it. It was 7 a.m. What was I thinking? But you know what? I learned some things that I clearly did not retain, and I think I got a good grade in it. So that's my answer.
You think you got a good grade in it? You don't remember?
I don't remember. But you know how hard it is, Patrick, when you're pursuing a creative degree and you don't want to have to like take a math or a science course. Oh, that's what it was. It was a science elective and I had to take a science class. And that was the one that wasn't like chemistry or involved any kind of numbers or things that gave me anxiety. So it had to be 7 a.m.
And you wonder why people don't think that artists are smart? That is a perfect example of why they think artists are lazy.
Listen, I learned some stuff and got a good grade. Next question. Rodri writes in with our next question. Again, you can find Rodri on Instagram at RodMeetsWorld. Rodri asks, Patrick, what got you wanting to start Run Disney? I used it to start my fitness journey, so I'm wondering how it started for you.
Oh, good question. I've talked about it a little bit before on the podcast. It was also sort of a fitness journey for me that kind of launched everything. But I discovered Run Disney because I was inspired by a guy on YouTube. His name is Gerald Resnick. His channel is called Res Runs, if you want to check it out. So Gerald is legally blind. He can still see, but he has something called Stargardt disease, which I'm obviously not a doctor, but I believe in a nutshell, it's sort of a degenerative disease in the retina that affects your straight ahead vision, basically. So I think what he sees is like what you would see if you were looking into or through a fishbowl. So in 2015, he started participating in the Run Disney events and documenting them on video for his YouTube channel. And he made it look so amazing. And his story was so inspiring. I thought if this man who is legally blind can run a half marathon and film it at the same time, I can certainly get my ass off the couch and run a 5K. So on my 36th birthday, I ran my first 5K here in Minneapolis. It was the Mustache Run, which benefits research for prostate cancer. And then right after that, I became hooked with running and I signed up for the Star Wars Run Disney event in Disney World and was immediately addicted, as you all know, from that moment on. If you want to know more or maybe a little bit of a deeper dive into that, I do have a blog called Patrick Runs Disney. I haven't written in it in a while because I haven't been running as much as I want to right now. But that sort of recaps everything I just said and gives you a little bit more background into my running journey, especially as it relates to Run Disney.
Talk to us more about that mustache run. That's different from a mustache ride, right?
That is what you pulled out of all of that.
Yeah.
Good for you. Do you really want to know more about it? Or are you just being a jackass, Adam? You're just being a jackass.
No, that was an excellent explanation of why you started and a really great reason why you started, Patrick.
For sure. Again, check out Res Runs, REZRUNS on YouTube. His story is so great and his videos are really wonderful.
What if your answer had been because I was being chased?
A bear was chasing me from the bars, and that's how I got into it. Well, Adam, I think we have time for one more question. What do you say we take just one more?
Let's do it.
So this comes again from Auntie Myrna. She wrote into us from her Instagram this time, which is salad.
Something I've never ever said in my life.
Auntie Myrna says, inquiring minds, mainly me, but I feel others will be on board. Do Patrick and Adam have nicknames with each other or friends or spouses? Mine is Myrna. She's my drinking alter ego. And when she appears, it's a treat. She says, please say ... for all the ... dots. So I'll re-say that. It's ... a ... treat. Okay, bye. XOXO.
I have a nickname for Patrick.
Uh-oh.
And I think a lot of people call you this. A lot of people call you PK for Patrick Kazuki.
Oh, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. It's yes, most of my close friends and family call me PK.
Also P Kizzle.
Yep.
Peacocky, Peacaz, the percolator.
Now, these are all just my passwords to get into my programs, my email, and
That's right.
What about you? You don't really have any nicknames. I call you Hey You. So that's about it.
Yes, you call me Hey You. Matthew calls me Jujubee.
Oh,
I can't remember the origin behind it. It wasn't the drag queen. It was somehow came from another source, but he calls me Jujubee, Juge, Jujibee. Like there's all these variations of Jujubee. Does Dan have any pet names for you?
no, not really. I think most people just call me PK. We have no affection in our lives.
All of your dinners together are like business meetings.
Oh, Adam, we don't have dinner together.
No, I'm sorry. How dare I? At the end of each day, it's just a firm handshake and you're off to your separate bedrooms.
Yep, that feels right. That feels right.
So, Patrick, that wraps up this installment of Questions and Peter Panswers.
Thank goodness I have got to use the restroom so badly right now.
And I'm still recording from the closet, so I've got about a 4-foot space that I've crammed my giant body into, so it'll be nice to stretch my legs.
No, this was super fun. As I said before, this is always one of my favorite episodes to record.
Absolutely. It's always fun for us to interact with all of our listeners, and we're so appreciative that you take the time not only to listen to the podcast, but to write in and to ask questions of us. It's fun to really have this connection with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. On that note, thank you to everyone who did write into us. We received a lot of questions, and we only got through some of them. We still have many, many more questions that we can get through on a future episode. But please continue to send us your questions so we can have another Questions and Peter Panswers episode for you at the ready.
You can send us your questions via social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at GDTD Podcast.
Or you can always email us or leave us a voice memo at info@gazedothed.com.
I actually have a question for you, Patrick.
Okay, what's that?
When's the last time you showered?
Gosh, it was way back in February, I think. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Patrick.
Please get your thumb out of the phone. I can't see anything when you do that.
It's called Fun with FaceTime.
For those who obviously can't see us, which is everybody because this is a podcast, Adam was giving me a visual cue to start talking, and it was very upsetting.
When we're in the same room, I normally just smack Patrick on the side of the head when it's time to start.
Yeah, as you would like a horse, basically, to start running. That's what you do, right? You smack a horse in the head to get it to start running.
I think you actually smack it in its rump, but I'm not willing to go there with you.
Yes. Okay, fair. That's fair. Fair enough. Guess what time it is, Adam?
It's time for Quick D, Patrick.
Quick D. Today's Quick D is brought to you by the Thunderdome, Adam.
You make it sound so pleasant, but it's actually quite a brutal arena, Patrick.
Yeah, it gets very aggressive when we do this Quick D. For those who don't know, Quick D is when Adam and I ask each other a question we've not been privy to prior to recording, and we answer off the cuff, improv style. Normally we do Quick D Classic, which is just a random question, but this time we're doing Quick D Thunderdome, where we give each other two Disney-related options to enter the Thunderdome, and only one can survive.
It is a reference, of course, to the classic 1980s film Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, starring Mel Gibson and Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
Patrick, do you want to be the first to introduce your combatants into the Thunderdome, or do you want me to be the first?
I can go first. Are you ready for this, Adam? I've got some groups, actually, that are going into the Thunderdome.
A group action? I love group action, Patrick.
Yep. Group action. The first group I'm throwing into the Thunderdome is the Dapper Dans.
Okay.
Versus the Main Street Trolley Show.
Can you imagine these two battling it out to the death?
I can, and it's very whimsical in my head.
It's kind of West Side Story inspired, but if it's possible, it is less aggressive dance fighting than West Side Story.
Yeah, that's a low bar.
I'm going to give this one to the Main Street Trolley Show. I think the Dapper Dans are probably going to die.
Fair enough. Why?
I think the Main Street Trolley Show has the moves. You know, the Dapper Dans, they have some kind of jaunty choreography, but the Main Street Trolley Show, they've got those high kicks. And those high kicks can go straight to the chin or straight to the private areas on a person's body, and that can really hurt.
Oh my. And the women are wearing heels too, and those can be weapons, as we all know.
Yeah, if they take off one of those heels and just jam it into someone's eye, that Dapper Dan is going to feel it and is going down.
This all makes perfect sense to me. This is a really good choice. I think you're right.
I think I'm right too. I'm sorry, Dapper Dans, but I'm giving it to the Main Street Trolley Show.
Main Street Trolley for the win.
All right, Patrick, for my choices, I'm going to throw the two Bobs into the Thunderdome. I'm going to throw Bob Iger and Bob Chapek into the Thunderdome. Which of the two Bobs is going to win?
I think it's clearly Bob Iger who's going to win. He's a lot more creative. He has some tricks up his sleeve, for sure.
He's bringing sleight of hand magic into the Thunderdome.
That's exactly right. Also, he knew enough to get out of this mess before COVID-19 happened.
Yes. Yes.
He's so much smarter.
He has the foresight. He is a prognosticator. He saw all of this coming and was like, exit stage left.
That's right. I'm out. Yep. On smarts alone, Bob Iger wins.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.